Mr. President.
Senator from Nevada.
Thank you, Mr. President. This week, Mr. President, we are nearing the finish line on providing Nevadans and all Americans the real tax relief that they deserve and they've been promised. And as a member of the Senate Finance Committee, I've been fighting every day for the Senate to stay in Washington, even 24/7, until the job gets done. And today, we're getting the job done. And that's because I know just how critical middle-class tax relief is for the people in my home state of Nevada. Let me tell you why. The majority of Americans are not only struggling to get ahead, they are struggling to just get by. It's been reported that nearly 8 in 10 Americans who work full-time are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's a slight increase from previous years. If you live in Nevada, you're more likely to be living paycheck to paycheck than if you lived in most other states. To put that into perspective, housing costs are reported to consume nearly a quarter of Nevadans' paychecks. One report suggests that after the cost of living expenses are taken out of their paychecks, the average Nevadan has as little more than $700 left. During a recent telephone town hall, I heard from a teacher in Las Vegas who spoke about her stagnant wages. This teacher, like most Americans, had not seen a meaningful pay raise in years. But right now, for many Americans, it's not so much about getting a raise, it's getting back to where you once were. In Nevada, real median household income is $7,000 lower today than it was in 2007. Let me repeat that, Mr. President. In Nevada, real median household income is $7,000 lower today than it was 10 years ago. At the same time, child care expenses have skyrocketed. In this country, the average cost for an infant in center-based care can be high as $17,082 per year. And by the way, that's more than a semester at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It's more than a semester at Nevada, Reno. In Nevada, that means that the average single parent could spend as much as 36% of his or her annual income to send an infant to a center-based care. Given rising housing and child care expenses alone, middle-class families in Nevada and around this country are having a hard time covering day-to-day expenses and planning for their futures. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans have nothing set aside to cover an unexpected emergency, while nearly 1 in 3 Americans do not have at least $500 to cover an unexpected emergency expense. So it's fair to say, in Nevada at least, that the recession has never really ended. Under the failed economic policies of the Obama administration, Nevadans suffered through 8 years of historically low economic growth. Think about that. In the 8 years, the average economic growth was less than 2%. As a result of less than 2% growth, wages and workers suffered. Job creation suffered. The middle-class Americans suffered. And we're now at a crossroads. We have a chance to change course. We have an opportunity to pass meaningful tax cuts that lift middle-class families, our communities, and our economy. So if you're against this bill, you're satisfied with anemic 2% economic growth ushered in by the Obama administration. You accept this dismal growth as the new normal. But I'll never accept this as a new normal. I think we can do better. In fact, Mr. President, I know we can do better. And we've already seen improvement since President Trump took office. If you're against this bill, you're against giving small businesses the chance to actually get off the ground and hire workers. You're against giving them a better opportunity to expand, to invest, to increase wages, to hire more workers. But I know that our small business employ nearly half of all U.S. workers, and I know this bill will make it easier for them to continue doing what they do best, and that is creating jobs. And lastly, if you're against this bill, you're against tax cuts for the middle class because that's what this bill is all about. And if you know that nearly 1/3 of Americans don't have $500 to cover an emergency expense, then you know just how important a few extra dollars per month are to them. I do, and that's why I've been fighting to get this bill to the President's desk. Earlier today, I was pleased to see that the House passed the conference report reconciling our two tax reform bills, and I look forward to soon having the opportunity to vote in support of this pro-growth package that delivers critical, important tax relief to America's middle class and small businesses. A pro-growth package that will help boost jobs, a pro-growth package that will increase wages, and a pro-growth package that drives growth in our local communities. A pro-growth package that gives a Nevada family of four making $85,000 per year a tax cut of $2,254, or roughly a relief of 20% of their tax liability, according to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. Today, our small businesses and middle class suffer under an outdated and unfair tax code that crushes job creations, makes it harder for Nevadans, people all across this country, to get ahead. The fact is simple. After 30 years of disrepair and neglect, our current tax system needs to be fixed. Everybody knows it doesn't work, and it's rigged against our job creators, and that it should be overhauled. And these are the very problems that our tax relief package helps address. I also spoke recently to an ambitious and hardworking Nevadan, an entrepreneur who started his own business while going to school full-time. This young job creator brought up the enormous amount of money he's paying in taxes, as well as how complicated it is to navigate the current system. He also spoke of an uneven playing field that tipped the system in favor of his foreign competitors. He wanted to know when Congress would deliver on reforms to boost the competitiveness of all American job creators. Lastly, just this last week, I ran into a small business owner who said he paid $160,000 in taxes last year. He said that $160,000 amounted to 2 pieces of machinery that he could have installed at his small manufacturing facility. Machines that would necessitate the creation of 2 highly paid jobs that would have been created but for our unfair tax system. From their perspective and from mine, Nevada's been waiting too long for a fair, simpler tax code that they can enjoy. Nevadans, like most Americans, know how important passing this tax relief package is to our country's economy. Nevadans have seen increased levels of economic growth under this new administration and know that this tax relief bill will add to it. So let's talk about what this tax bill does and does not do. This tax bill lowers individual tax rates across the board and lets taxpayers keep more of their hard-earned money. This tax bill roughly doubles the standard deduction used by most taxpayers, giving a massive tax cut to the roughly 90% of Nevadans expected to use it. This tax bill includes my amendment to double the child tax credit, an increase of $1,000 per child over current law, which will go a long way towards addressing the skyrocketing cost of child care in my state and across the country. This tax bill also includes my amendment to make it easier for startups and businesses to give lower-level employees an ownership stake in their company's success by awarding stock options. This tax bill protects and expands the medical expense deduction for our nation's most vulnerable, as well as preserves popular retirement savings options, such as 401ks and individual retirement accounts. This bill does not change the tax treatment of student loan interest. It does not change graduate tuition waivers, does not change the tax treatment of employer-paid tuition or the teacher deduction. It preserves the tax exemptions for private activity bonds used to finance private projects with a public benefit. These bonds benefit a wide array of individual and organizations such as charter schools and are of great importance to the homeschool community. Overall, this tax bill accomplishes my 3 major goals in 1, creating jobs, 2, increasing wages, and 3, boosting American competitiveness. Regardless of the tales of my friends from across the aisle that want to tell you this bill does not only cut taxes, but it also increases wages. Today, we have a prime opportunity to provide real tax relief to Nevadans and other Americans who've been waiting for a fair, simpler tax code. Real relief that lets the middle class keep more of their hard-earned money and make our tax code easier and to understand. Less paperwork, more money in people's back pockets. Real relief that also produces more quality jobs, produces higher wages, and growth in our communities. This tax relief bill is a positive step towards restoring Nevadans' faith in the American dream by providing tax cuts for middle-class families, jump-starting job creation, higher wages, and economic growth. I'll continue to work with my colleagues in both chambers to ensure that this desperately needed legislation makes it across the finish line to the President's desk before the end of this week. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
President.